Live.
Live. Yes.
Neomix.live.
Neomix.live.
I'm Tamara Neo.
I think we can say Neomix Live.
Okay. People will figure it out.
I'm Flux Neo.
And this is our little entry into YouTube land and whatnot. This is our second show.
Second show. We were very conscientious of just kind of the learning involved, and so between the last show and this show, it's
Better
amazing.
lighting,
Yeah,
better
should
lighting.
be better lighting, should be better audio, and there's still things that I have in mind that I can do to get better audio going. But we will get into the overall process of us creating the ability to be able to do these streams, and so that's going to be a big part of what we'll discuss in future shows, is getting into some of the tech and then just some of the kind of practical considerations that go into making something like this happen. So we're on the learning curve. As we learn, you'll learn. So I think that's
a good
fair.
way of putting it, yes.
It's kind of like having
So
children.
as we crash and burn, you'll be
Yeah,
there to
yeah.
watch.
Well, I think about our kids. Our first kid, we didn't break her.
Oh.
Second kid, we were kind of organized. Third kid, we're like, yeah, he'll survive. So, it's kind of, I think, the same kind of trajectory. Anytime you're learning something new or experimenting and having fun. So, today, though,
Yes.
we have 3 topics, and that's going to be something that we're going to work with through the live stream, is try to get to, at least 3 topics. So if you have show ideas, please direct them our way, because we're happy to take input and put it into use as far as content is concerned. So outside of that, I don't have anything else as far as intro. I know, though, for today's show, we're going to be covering what are they? Big.
Ridiculously big salad. Eat like a bear.
Okay.
Eat like a bear. That's largely what's been all over our page up to this point, is my salads. I'm just going to dive right in.
No, I want to cover this over. It's called the highlights. Goodness. So we're going to cover that. Also, we're going to talk about our Father's Day and Mother's Day meals. I cook once a year. That's it.
He's not kidding.
And it's for Mother's
He won't
Day.
boil water. He won't put
I'll
toast
put it in the
toaster.
microwave. It's one of those things that
Once a year.
I'm
I
a big
get
eater.
Terrific meal.
I'm a borderline human garbage disposal, but
He ate 2 meals at every meal while we were on vacation.
and I'm the bear. I'm the bear. So in the Eat Like a Bear, I guess. But regardless, and our last subject tonight will be ham radio.
Okay.
Which I think is very cool, and hopefully after the segment you might find interest in it as well. But obviously you want to start off with the Eat Like a Bear, really big, ridiculously big salad.
Okay. So if you've followed my page at all, you'll see that I post salads every couple of days or so of what I've made and what's in it and what the carb count is, etc. And all of that goes back to last June. Last June, I found this woman on Facebook, and she's still there now. It's called Eat Like a Bear, and there's this really great community of other women, some men too, but largely women, who need to lose weight, to be perfectly frank. And last June, I really needed to lose weight. I still do, but I'm 50 pounds to the better because of how this woman's program is structured. It's all free. It's all up there. You don't have to buy her book. You don't have to subscribe to anything. It's just there on Facebook. And at this point, she has over 100 people who have lost over 100 pounds.
Now, question, you keep saying she. Who is she?
Amanda Rose. There we go. It was gone for just a second. Her name is Amanda Rose, and she is a ball of energy. Just watching her on her videos, she kind of fell into this way of eating herself. She began, I guess it was probably at this point, maybe 3 years ago, trying to drop her own weight so that she didn't have to go through gastric bypass. And she did it through combining 3 sort of more commonly known methods. Number 1, her calories are only 1,200. It's all at one sitting, but her calories only 1,200 a day.
My kind of meal.
Then that one meal is once a day for 1 hour. So she's got low calorie restriction on some levels. Trust me, when you're sitting down to eat 1,200 calories all at once, you don't feel restricted at all. And then she's doing it for 1 hour a day. And then she's keeping her carbs, her net carbs, below 20. I shoot for below 15. I feel like it does a better job. And she did that for over a year and dropped 120 or 140 pounds. And she was like 280 to begin with.
So something about that, it sounds kind of counterintuitive, because you would think that if you're just eating a lot at once and then kind of just starving yourself in a way, or at least for me, I would feel like I was starving myself the rest of the day. Doesn't the body want to cling to whatever limited nutrition you actually put into it, or how's that work out?
No, what ends up happening is your body gets time to go into fat burning mode. Every time you eat something, you spike your blood sugar. Every time your blood sugar is spiked, you are not burning fat. When your blood sugar levels back out and you need something, you're about to run, you're about to go into a courtroom, something that pulls stress, with the blood sugar nice and steady and low, it pulls from your fat stores. She actually follows another PhD by the name of Jason Fung. He's got wonderful stuff out there too, but it is basically that you don't want your blood sugar spiking more than once a day, and you want to give your body that intermittent fasting of going 23 hours. Now there are some people, they're doing 2 meals a day.
Are they still doing 1,200 calories?
Yeah,
Do they do
still
like 600
1,200
and 600?
calories over the course of the 24-hour period.
Now, are there people who are living active lives and doing this? Because that would be my concern, is I'm putting this stuff in me and it's like, okay, I go to the gym, I work out, I have a busy day, with court and clients and what have you. How do I keep my energy level up through the day?
There are, but in all fairness, most of the people that I'm watching on this are more like me. They are older. They have larger amounts of weight to work. So the idea of going out and running 5 miles and lifting weights, to see what they can max out at. Yeah, it's not really the topic of conversation.
I'm just asking because, there might be a
There are some,
broad...
especially as they get smaller, especially as they get into their, real close to their target weight and their weight slows, that is how they speed it up. They start lifting weights, they start walking, and so that pushes them down that final little, nugget of weight that's always so hard to get off.
Now, if you're eating like this, you've lost, 50 pounds. Mm-hmm. What's the risk? Do you come off of it and you're potentially going to put it back on, or how's that roll?
I can speak to that because, as everybody I think that's followed me at all knows, I love to cook. And I don't always cook stuff for salads, holidays, etc. So I followed this religiously until about Thanksgiving of last year. And then I wonder why. And then we did Thanksgiving meals. And then I got back onto it for a little bit. And then we did Christmas meals. And then we went on vacation. And forget about it. If I'm on vacation, just forget about it. So, and I've risen a little bit of that, but I'm nowhere near where I was last June. So it stayed pretty steady. And I've been real good the last several months with a couple of deviation days. And it's coming right back off. So for me, this is a really proven method, especially as you get older. As you get older, you haven't crossed that bridge yet, dear.
No, thank goodness. Go on.
It gets harder. It does. Your body just slows down, and it does not want to drop that weight. And the combination of those three, the intermittent fasting, the calorie restriction sort of, and the carbs, it's a triple threat. Is that what they call it?
I guess.
Yeah. So let's talk about carbs for a second. So carbs, the way that you count them, and most of you who have been doing low carb know this already. So if you know this already, you can just fast forward past it. But you look on the back of something and it'll give you the total number of carbs on something. And then you look at dietary fiber. And you take that total number of carbs and you get to subtract 1 carb for every 1, whatever the measurement is, of dietary fiber. So if something starts out with 10 carbs but 8 grams of fiber, you're only down to 2 net carbs. And the 15 that I try and limit myself to are net carbs. So that's also why she emphasizes the really big salad, is because you should see my salad bowl is a family-sized salad bowl, and I fill it. There's 5-6 cups of different kinds of lettuces, depending on what's fresh in the garden, and that's the base. I start there, and I always finish every piece of lettuce. I might not finish all the meat toppings. I might not finish all the everythings, but I'm going to finish every piece of lettuce because it's roughage. It's filling me up, and it's lots of good stuff. It's good for my skin. My skin looks great when I'm really consistent on this.
What kind of meat are you using?
You can use just about any kind of meat. That's kind of been my experiment. I've done it with every kind of beef imaginable, chickens, porks, fishes. There's a tuna fish salad one that I'm kind of toying with to see if I can get it just where I want it. I bought scallops for the first time. I don't even think I've ever cooked scallops anytime. But I'm going to do a salad with the scallops on it.
So what about dressings? Because I figure dressings can be an area where you run into trouble very quickly if you're trying to count carbs.
Yeah, I don't buy my dressings anymore because she has a whole chapter just on homemade dressings that are super fast, super easy, and super good. I had my eldest try some of the salads with me, and her preference was always the salads or the dressings that came with this book, and then other ones that I would create. Once you get the base of what she's doing in her dressings, like she starts with some mayonnaise, and then she continues on with some Greek yogurt, whole Greek yogurt, and that's the base, and then everything else goes in depending on whether it's going to be a thinner dressing. She adds some oil. If it stays thick and it's flavorful, she adds lots of spices, etc. But I wanted to kind of explain, because again, there's probably 6 months of my salads up before we actually started getting broadcasts up. So it's a wonderful program. Eat Like a Bear. You can find it on Facebook. It's free. It's got a great community of people who post regularly about their successes and their struggles, and and there's not that I've not come across any negative talk. The second somebody starts feeling sort of negative, everybody, kind of chimes in and, brings them up. It's just a really good community. So that's Eat Like a Bear. And I'll keep posting my salad dressings, and I'll keep posting salads that she has. And all I can say is go find her. Go find her. Amanda Rose, The Ridiculously Big Salad. This is her book. It's not very big. And Eat Like a Bear on Facebook. So,
okay.
That's
and
it.
The nice part is you have so much content up. So if people are interested.
Oh, you want some ideas? Go find the page.
Yeah. So I've never tried it. I will admit the salads do look good. Just visually, it does look like appetizing food. Sometimes when you're dieting, you're just like, ugh, no, I refuse. But that actually is very appealing, and I've seen her, put a range of different meats in. But I wasn't sure if you're putting in different meat, does it impact your calories? Different dressings, does it impact your calories? But it sounds like it's something that
that's one more
all of
thing.
that is factored in.
I track everything with Carb Manager. That's the name of the app. And then I can put in, and I weigh everything before it hits that salad. So as I'm building that salad, I'm entering it in, so I know I am staying within my range and within my target.
Okay.
So it works
cool.
well.
Well, if you get any personal experience going with it, obviously there's a Facebook page. You can join a community of people. I think that makes anything that you're doing that much easier. If you're not feeling alone, other people have walked the path before. They've had their ups and downs with it, and they can offer some practical and constructive advice. I think it's something that can be far more rewarding. I think that's actually what we're trying to do with this show.
Yes!
Isn't that interesting?
So if you're looking for an Eat Like a Bear buddy, just hit me up. Send me a message.
Okay.
I'll dive in with you.
Okay.
Okay?
So we talked about this at the opening. I don't cook at all.
No exaggeration.
As a single guy, I think the most involved meals that I did consisted of top ramen with a can of either peas or corn thrown in. I think that, Taco Bell.
Maybe a microwave quesadilla.
No, microwave, really? No, we don't microwave quesadillas.
You did. You used to.
In
when
a
I first
desperate
met
situation,
you. Yeah,
sure.
I taught you about putting them in the oven and how much better
I
they
presume
got.
you have an oven. You and your fancy ovens.
I know.
But yeah, I'm a huge eater. I love to eat, going out. I'm highly interested in experimenting with foods that I've never tried. I don't think I'm trying to think if there's anything I won't eat. You know what? We were in Bulgaria. I would not eat the sheep brain. They literally just take the brain out of the sheep's head, put it on a plate, and put some lettuce around it and serve it to you. That was a bit much for me. So I never ate the sheep brain.
Once we ate the little lard cubes, once we realized what they were, we
yes,
didn't have another.
Yeah, Bulgaria's, they're fans of basically taking lard and slicing it, and you take and eat little lard cubes.
Lard cubes.
We didn't know what we were eating. We only discovered it after the fact. But needless to say, they're edible.
Sort of.
But yeah, either way, big eater. Cooking though, the notion that I'm going to sit there hungry, staring at food, not eating it, and just waiting sounds like a slow form of torture that you wouldn't want to wish upon people that you dislike even.
However, give him 3 children and I was able to finagle a once a year meal on Mother's Day.
Yes.
And I'm going to keep working for birthday. That's next on the list. But right now we got Mother's Day solid.
To my credit, though, I do make lattes. As a former barista, I'm very good about making lattes. And we'll actually do a segment on that before long.
Yeah.
But regardless, Tamra worked up a couple great videos. Mine will come up first because I was...
Oh, the meal that I cooked for you is going to come up first.
Oh no. Okay, yes. Yours.
Yes, okay.
We corrected
we're going to save
yes.
his for last because his is more
mine.
fun.
Okay.
But mine is just, again, like I said, I love to cook. So this was easy for me. This is the Father's Day meal, start to finish. And I'll comment as it comes up because I didn't have time to do little slides. But there's not much to it. I think most of the folks that live in this area would be just fine making something like this. So let's go ahead and start it.
Okay.
Flux and his charcuterie boards. That is an easy go-to to keep him from being hungry, going, how much longer is dinner? How much longer is dinner? How much longer till dinner? These are some great sausages that we found at Sam's Club, and it seems like we can't find any great sausages in most places. Okay, so on to the main dish. We did a cheesy mashed potatoes. We did a wonderful roast. Actually, they're individual prime roasts. A fast-paced, whatever they call this, is just so funny. Oh, the roast had mushroom sauce, a creamy mushroom sauce, that I then topped with caramelized onions and blue cheese crumbles.
See, I like this pace. If I know food's coming this quickly, I might get into cooking.
Yeah, this 5-minute video was an hour and a half of real-time prep. So the 2 cheeses I like to put into the thing are the smoked Gouda and the Gruyere, and then I think I also topped it with Parmesan, shredded Parmesan at the very end.
That looks delicious.
The cheese, the way it expands, does look good. Okay, little cheese on the bottom. The mashed potatoes are just traditional mashed potatoes. I boiled them, the little wedges first, then I smushed them up and mixed them. For me, I mixed mine with cream cheese and a little bit of whole cream. But however you make yours, it'd be wonderful. Just put them on top. Sprinkle some more cheese in the middle, top them off, and then, like I said, I thought, oh yeah, fresh ground Parmesan, makes 3 cheeses. Something about the magic of 3.
And that stuff tastes amazing.
That is lettuce right from my garden. I have 4 different lettuces growing. This is a salad that I think I could say probably captured Flux's heart. It was one of the very first things I made for him. It's just a really simple Greek salad. It's the lettuce, it's the carrots, it's the cucumbers, little tomatoes that are cut up, garlic salt, garlic pepper, olive oil, and balsamic. Toss it. It's light, flavorful.
Delicious.
Go heavy on pepper. I don't typically like pepper, as I've said before, but something about this salad, it's good. Now, I slowed the video down so you can watch. That is how long I run olive oil over it. I don't measure. I don't measure anything. It just becomes sort of habit, what worked. So again, this is real time.
And if you like some tart in your salad, it's amazing how those tubes of the fresh salad.
Here we go. That meat was delicious too.
It's so tender. What was that it was so tender?
It was just I can't call the word right now. Of course you're gonna ask me that, and that's what I couldn't call in my mind either. It's a type of steak. I can't think of what it's called. It's like the best type of steak. Yeah, it's like a fillet. There we go. Okay. It's a fillet. I get my meats from 3 places. I get my meats from John Rudy here in Tazewell. I get my meats from Grant's, because everybody knows they've got great steaks. And that one actually came from Sam's Club, and it was one of the big, long ones. There's that mushroom gravy. And there's the blue cheese. And the 3 flavors together, the mushroom gravy, the caramelized onions, and the blue cheese, just to die for. Just to die for. That's it.
Sweet.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm actually hungry
So
now.
I was talking about that roast. Okay, so what I do sometimes, when I feel like I'm running to Sam's, they sell these really long prime pieces of steak, but they're like this huge piece, and you can trim it and rope it up and do some kind of wonderful thing for a Christmas meal, etc. Or you can give it back to them and say, could you slice it into 1-inch steaks for me, and they'll do that for you.
Getting a question. It was, what did you do after the olive oil? It was olive oil, and what was in the brown bottle?
Balsamic vinegar. Wonderful. And I like just about every balsamic vinegar I've tried, and I've tried just about everyone in the store.
And there's that place down in Abingdon that actually
has.
Oh,
that's worth doing a show over. In Abingdon, and other places. I think there's one in Blacksburg as well.
This is an exclusive.
They do olive oils. They are an olive oil store, and then they flavor all of their olive oils. Now, I think they also have different flavored balsamic vinegars too.
Yeah, that's true. That is.
But their olive oils are just to die for. Just to die for. We should do just a visit to them. That would really be worthwhile. I don't think a lot of people know that it's there.
Well, I know that, and I'm just checking for any additional comments, so I don't want to distract you.
Thank you, whoever sent that question in.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, Tamara did vastly improve his quesadilla recipe. Yes, you're right, Tucker. I sure did.
Yeah. I'll remember
that.
Okay,
play the next one. I had fun with this next one. I had a lot of fun. Partly because of how I got filmed, which you'll understand when you watch the whole thing.
Okay. We'll get going with this one. I don't know if you can see that this is smoking some. So the oil got too hot. Again, I do this once a year. So things to be conscientious of. Don't cook the oil at too much of a heat, or no, it'll scratch that. As you can see, this is smoking. It's because the oil got too hot. So manage your heat. Medium was way too much for me on this stove. I'm going to turn it down to, at least on this one, 2. So I'm going to call this low heat. But I can tell the pan's hot. But yeah, you can see the oil got a little cooked on there. So I'm going to wipe it. It should still be enough oil though, even after wiping it, to give us some good crepes. But the oil helps to manage that. But you can see it's not really all that complicated. You gotta be a little careful, a little finesse, I guess, to make sure that you don't tear it. But we're not talking about anything very complicated or involved at all. Now, what often occurs when you do these, and we'll actually show you the flip side there. To me, this one's done. The batter doesn't have to be, perfect, but now I've got something to work with, and I can take and now put inside the actual crepe. Already gotten eggshell in it. I was able to find it and get it out. Thing that I'm using, these are actually really cool. They're silicone. So I don't know if you can see. Are you ready now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Been ready.
I don't know if you. The main point here is that you use a little so it doesn't get too overwhelming. Now rinse the same. There we go. I think that's about it. And he's not in the video, right? On that side?
It depends.
That look on his face, like, wait.
Your joys of parenting sometimes, you just,
all of that.
Live and learn.
Yeah.
Live and learn. That's all I can say.
So we learned that even though they were going for that great shot, that it's so much better to just have one camera still, and if you're going to have a second one person's operating it.
Well, and did any of the shots from the second
No,
camera make it in?
that's why the episode is like chop, 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 because it was like every time I'd get a scene, and it would be like, oh, this one's gonna work. Oh no, it's not. Oh wait, this one will work. No, there it goes again. No, so
I will say the crepes thing. It's actually delicious. So
and not hard at all.
Not hard. It really is good. It's not like I'm just saying it because I made it somehow or something.
Yeah.
Like it's legitimately good. So as a guy that doesn't cook, who wants to, take the time, show you're appreciating, what your wife does each year. I can admit that if you're the guy that doesn't do this frequently, when you do it, it is appreciated. And so you don't need to feel bad if it maybe isn't the most beautiful or perfect thing.
You can do it more often. I'll still appreciate it.
But I'm trying to think. I've done waffles before with bacon.
Oh, and we do fluffy scrambled eggs with bacon.
Yeah.
I think at some point I'm going to ask for a quiche, and I'll hand him a recipe so he's got some road to follow.
Yeah,
but
I may need to watch a video or two on that one because that one seems a little more.
yeah, it's not.
No. Okay.
It's not a souffle.
Maybe we'll make it a thing where I experiment cooking, literally as the guy that cooks once a year. Maybe see what it is for the inexperienced person to learn to cook, at least reasonably.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting to turn into some sort of chef or anything. I wouldn't presume.
There's time. We'll get them there.
But so kind of gives you a sense. I think it's fun on one level because doing things for others out of a sense of appreciation for them. It's nice and they appreciate it. But I think also just showing that it can be done with not a lot of effort, not a lot of time, and very limited resources. Well, I don't think to
eggs,
make
butter,
that
milk, water.
Yeah.
Make sure you have some heavy whipping cream. That's it.
Like
and
$25 and you can, everybody ate that morning.
fresh whipping cream is like such a delight, and it's so simple. And I know that everybody kind of reaches for the can kind of thing, the little spray can thing, but if you'll just
it's not
take
even close.
Literally that pulls together in under a minute, and it's so worth it. It's just such a difference.
Now, I will say the mixer was obviously essential because it cuts down on the time.
Those mixers are amazing, though. I still have my mother's KitchenAid, which she bought in probably, I don't know, it's older than you.
And isn't it one of those things that, like, if it ever breaks, you just send it?
It broke in the 90s, and I sent it off to, I can't remember where, Indiana or something. They sent it back in perfect shape.
Yeah, so good product, but it wouldn't have made what I did possible to not have it.
It is possible, but it's a whole lot more work.
No, if it was that much work, she wouldn't have gotten it. So, either way.
If I'd only said that about the 3 kids. I don't know, it's too much work. There'd be no little man, no son.
No son, no nothing, real tragedy. But what I think we can do is pivot and look at what I actually came across. I guess years ago I came across it. It had been on kind of my little bucket list, if you will, to pursue this hobby. And I finally got around to it, I think as a part of kind of Corona land. I had a little time, and I was diligent with it, and there was actually a little bit of a challenge because of the issues with Corona, and I'll explain why. What I got into is amateur radio, ham radio. It is a interesting kind of arch of experience for me. And to kind of give you a sense as to what it is that I'm referring to. With ham radio, the important thing to recognize is that it is a...
He's flipping things, that's why we're looking all around.
It is a very individualized experience. But what you can see here is this is just some of the equipment that I have, and this doesn't take up much more than a small shelf. And what that allows me to do then is to communicate with people. You know, I don't need a cell phone, and there's technology that allows you to speak to people who are way outside of your usual area, this thing called repeaters. But the thing that you're looking at here is, they call it a ham shack. And to provide a little context, think about radio waves. It's been about 150 years, I think it was like 1873, that James Maxwell, he developed the theory of electromagnetic fields. And it took until about 1901 when, I butcher his first name, but his last name is Marconi. He did the first transatlantic communication with antennas to be able to send a radio signal. And you know, it's pretty famous stuff at the end of the day that really set off a whole technological revolution in ways. But regardless, that set the precedent for not only people getting exposed to the technology, but I think more importantly, what it allowed for is people to take an interest in the technology and ensure that they were able to not only explore radio waves, explore the technology behind it, but more importantly, ensure that the public could make use of this technology. I believe it was, 1912 that Congress got involved with trying to regulate the airwaves, so to speak, where radio frequencies propagate. What they didn't want is everybody using it and it basically becoming useless because so many people were interfering with one another. So Congress took some steps to try to regulate radio and help to shape its growth. For anybody that's grew up listening to radio, it was the primary means for communication for decades until TV came along. That whole community of interested individuals, if you will, in this technology still exists. And it was in, let me see, I actually have a note on this, that the American Radio Relay League, 2 years after Congress in 1914, or after Congress took their action in 1914, started the American Radio Relay League, the ARRL. That organization is still with us. And what they do is they help people who are interested in amateur radio, it's also called ham radio, to get started. They provide resources so that you can learn the questions and understand the technology. But it's something that I was interested in. You do have to take exams. The exams are regulated by the FCC. And every 4 years they put out a new batch of questions, but those questions are publicly available. So people learn the questions, learn the information behind the questions, and if you take the exam and you pass the requisite number of questions, you get licensed. The license is good for 10 years, but by getting licensed, you're now a part of a community that can use certain frequencies in the spectrum of radio waves. And I don't presume to be an expert. Like most everything, I'm just somebody that has interests and takes the time to get exposed to it. But I went ahead personally, went through the process, and I'll show you some of the materials here in a moment. I don't know if today was like the day for books or what, but
it was a heavy week at work.
Yeah. I want to go back to the picture that I was talking about. Is once you get licensed, there is equipment that is specialized for being able to communicate on radio. And what you're seeing there is two radios. They're geared for what you call the 2 meter band of frequency. And this is a kind of frequency that you have to kind of see the other antenna to be able to communicate with it. But there are things called repeaters that allow you to kind of send your signal up, and then it'll propagate out to people, say, on the other side of a mountain. I know I can hear people in Christiansburg, Blacksburg. So you can really extend whom it is that you're reaching out to. And all of this stuff, it literally fits on a shelf. As you can see, it's not very involved. I have some interesting things that I haven't even figured out everything that they do yet, just to be able to have some fun with it. But there are local communities, where there are clubs, in essence, of hams, people who are licensed to be able to communicate through ham radio, and they get on and have kind of meetings, if you will, on radio. They call them nets and what have you, but those are active in our area, and I know anywhere in the United States you're going to be able to communicate and meet with other people through ham radio. I will say a lot of the folks involved tend to be more mature. It's not full of a lot of young people, but young people are interested in it. But it's kind of this interesting kind of balance with technology being, just sitting on your phone now. You can communicate with people all over the world. A lot of people are, questioning, well, why would I care about radio? It's kind of a dated, antiquated experience. I've maybe even heard, my wife express something.
It reminds me of growing up on the ranch where, you got one radio station, and, you tuned and you tuned and you tuned until it was as clear as it could be. And that's what you listened to, with all the snaps, the crackles, and the pops. And
Sure.
and it was. Listen, when he turned it on, I was taken back 40 years.
Sure.
And it's calming and it's quiet, and it is. It's really interesting to hear somebody out there just in their own land broadcasting and talking about whatever was important to them that day.
Yeah, a lot of car talk.
Is
But
it?
no, around here,
Oh,
I hear a lot of car talk. But regardless,
I heard that.
yes. The thing, though, that I think about, and this is kind of the flip side of that. What happens when the cell tower goes down? What happens when there's an emergency? What happens when the usual means for communicating, the internet, your cellular, is unavailable to you? What then? And I think that sentiment of wanting to still be able to communicate, if there are emergencies, if there are people that you want to just check in on, circumstances that you're in kind of a rural area and you're injured and you don't have cell signal, which is a reality in a lot of places in America and
Appalachia.
Yeah, in the region that we live in. You can go onto a hill or start broadcasting. Other people who are in your proximity hear you. They can then relay messages out, and you don't rely on the usual communication infrastructure then to be able to communicate with people. And here you're seeing what it looks like with the individual radios, and I'll show you here just briefly what it looks like when you're dealing with antenna. This is again just a pole with a single antenna on the top of it that's on the house. It's not visually offensive. It's highly effective though, because what this allows me to do, if I go on a hike anywhere around the community that I live in, I can take a little handheld unit and be able to communicate with my house, regardless of cell signal, regardless of any of those usual considerations. And so it's not something that I think could prove to be out of the realm of most people to figure out how to set up. Just a little patience and a little information. I have up there also on that picture W3 Neo. This is kind of cool because when you get licensed, you get a call sign that is unique to you, and it's registered with the Federal Communications Commission. So that is something that rides with you for the life of your license. And since you can renew your license every 10 years, most people who are active keep that until they literally pass. And there's whole acknowledgement of folks who have a certain call sign and have passed away, that's memorialized even in the FCC records. But mine, it's interesting. You'll see W3 Neo or Whiskey 3 November Echo Oscar. You can get vanity call signs, just like a vanity license plate. I was able to get a vanity call sign that
Neo.
that actually had my name in it, and it's wholly compliant with the FCC requirements for being able to get a vanity call sign, because you can have only certain numbers and numerals, if you will, that are reflected in each call sign. So it's a little vain, I know, but it's also fun, at least as but the process of going through and getting the license, you take the test. There is your introductory license, which has certain frequencies that you're allowed to broadcast on. That's called your technician class license. You also have then a general class, which gives you greater range of frequencies that you can communicate on. And then additionally, you have amateur extra, which is the highest classification for ham radio aficionados. It is the kind of rare individual who actually gets licensed as an amateur extra, but the other participants of people who have that license and who communicate there often are really, really, really smart people, because to be able to go through each of these licenses and to successfully complete each of them, but to get to the amateur extra, anybody that you're out there communicating with at that point is no dummy. They're probably very interesting and very fun people to get to know. Like anything, there's a community of people involved who are interested and focused on wanting to ensure that you have good skills, that you can succeed with the testing process, and more importantly, that once you get started, you have somebody to go to answer your questions and the like. The picture here, that shows my grounding rod, which is, it's a 10-foot rod that I drove into the ground 8 feet, which was a intense experience.
Cusp.
But that is to mitigate the risk of any lightning ever and somehow, putting the house at risk by burning it down, for example. I'm not really
I was just happy that I
concerned.
didn't have that gigantic, that you see, 20 years ago from some guy who,
Well,
left
it's not 20
Korea
years
and
ago,
kept a ham radio right on his front yard, and it's bigger than his house. I thought, oh yeah, that's going to be us. That's going to be us. Oh my God, that's
I'm
gonna be us.
conscientious. If you look, my pole and antenna actually match the color of the house. But what she's talking about are folks who are into high frequency. Those are folks who have general class, amateur extra class licenses. Those folks are literally communicating with people all over the world.
Which is really cool.
Yeah, it is actually very, very cool. So even though it may look a little offensive to see these big antennas, what those folks are doing with them is actually really fun and interesting, because there are parts of the world that don't have a bunch of cell towers, don't have internet 24/7, but who still want to reach out, communicate, practice their English, talk about the weather, talk about football games, soccer games, politics, whatever the case may be, from all over the world. And there are places like Pitcairn Island, which is literally in the middle of the Pacific, that they have folks on ham radio. You can't really get a hold of them but for using radio. And so there's all these kind of cool elements to it that on the face of it, you may question, well, why do I need it? But when you understand that even with ham radio, a unit this big allows me to communicate all over the region, this isn't something that should be seen as challenging. Even if you don't do what I did, where you get a big antenna and a few extra radios that you set up in your house, This is easy. I can carry this around. They make sets that you
So
can
you
actually.
you don't need the antenna that's on our house for this to operate.
No, this
That's
has
just
its
all
own.
by its own
Yeah,
self.
it has its own antenna. This is its own self-contained little radio that transmits on the 2 meter and 70 centimeter bandwidths, and I can just go on a hike and stand up there and reach out to people. But this is really accessible. You can put a lot of money into it, like anything, or you can budget. But the cool thing is, when everything else shuts down, you're still able to communicate, and that's a hugely powerful tool. It's not that involved to get your technician class license. There are books out there, and I use this one. This is for the general class, because eventually I'll find the time to ensure that I can get through it.
How
But
long
this
did it take you to prepare for the first test?
I think I spent like 2.5 months, because I had a little bit more downtime during Corona.
And that's why you were still working even during Corona.
Yeah, sure. I was still working, but it wasn't quite the level of intensity, pre-Corona or post-Corona at this point. But materials like this are out there because the questions themselves are public. There are people who are experts in this stuff who will not only give you the questions, they'll go through the answers to the questions, but they'll explain the technology and the ideas and the math and the concepts that actually make this stuff possible, and they do it in a wonderful way. I like this guy, Mike Burnett. He also does an audio version. So if you're just driving in the car and you want to get exposed to this, you don't have to just read a book. Sometimes late at the day, that puts me to sleep. Whereas if I'm driving, I can just put it in, listen, and through repetition, it kind of gets in your head. But there are great resources out there. You don't have to feel alone or do it alone. But once you have it, it's a resource like anything, and it's a very powerful one and a very fun one that, at least for me, I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life now, and hope to grow and become more experienced. This is another one of the materials that are out there. You can get this stuff on Amazon or eBay, wherever you want to find books and the like. Or you can go on also to ARRL, the American Radio Relay group, their website, arrl.org, and they have a bunch of they have study materials for you. They have, for folks, even once they get their license, meetups where people have competitions, where they see how many people they can reach out to around the world, different parts of the country. And it's kind of competitive, because knowing how to work the technology, knowing how to point your antennas to hit different regions is a skill, like anything. There are folks that literally bounce signal off of the moon to try to get to the other side of the planet to be able to communicate with people. That's real. People use asteroid showers, or meteor showers, I should say. Hopefully not an asteroid shower into the world, but no, meteor showers, to use that to bounce signals off of. I think even people do things with the aurora. Stuff I legitimately don't understand, other than just nascently how it is that they're able to get signal to bounce around. And even if you're not, deep into the tech, once you know how to turn the thing on, push a button, know what to say, you're able to communicate.
Okay, so I got to ask the question.
Okay.
You have to have a license to use this.
Yes.
But all you're doing is pushing a button and talking. So what happens if I don't have a license, I haven't taken the test. What happens if I just go on there one night and just start talking it up?
Well, there's this federal agency called the FCC. They have an enforcement mechanism.
And they have nothing better to do than sit around listening to ham radio in the middle of the night to see if anyone's accidentally or maliciously using it.
Think about it. Other people have gone through the work to get a license.
Yeah.
And they respect what goes into it, and they're conscientious of the rules and regulations.
I know.
Here, somebody gets on and just starts blathering and taking up that airspace to communicate. So it becomes serious. What if an emergency comes up and there's literally a Yahoo bantering on and on and on to where you can't facilitate communication? So people do take it
How
seriously.
do they track you down, though? How do they find you?
Triangulation. They reach out and somebody says, hey, you are at this location, and they have directional antennas, and they'll figure out, okay, the signal's coming from that direction. Somebody else figures out which direction. They'll get in a car, go drive around, and look, and report people.
I see.
So it sounds silly, but at the same time, think about if there are issues, if there are emergencies, and people want to still ensure that the frequencies are respected and managed properly. That's why there's this process of having people licensed, ensuring they know the rules and respect the rules, because if you don't, you can lose your license. You know, same way, I can get into a car. I can get on the roadway and drive like a lunatic. I can put other people's safety at risk, their well-being. Law enforcement actually cares about that, and they want to step in and stop that. Same kind of thing with communications. You know,
Sure.
just because the technology is out there, do you want people just, in essence, making it unusable because there's no mechanism for regulating it? And I'm not a big regulation guy. I'm not saying rah, 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 more government by any means. But, you know,
There's a purpose in it.
there's a purpose.
Certainly.
You know, you go to a skate rink, everybody skates the same way. What happens if the one person's going the wrong way? Somebody's going to get hurt. No, I skate the right way. Very well, in fact.
I got
But-
the kids going, you're at an hour.
Okay,
You're at an hour.
we'll
We're only
wrap
supposed to be
up.
at a half an hour, but we're trying to get
we started
down
off
there.
as a half hour, but needless to say, I do think it is worth wrapping up. But ham radio, actually worthwhile. Very deep if you want to go there. Very useful if you want to go there. Very fun if that's what you want it to be. But the cost is really up to your interests in it. But absolutely worthwhile. And for those that take the time to learn it, I've never heard of somebody say, I took the test, what a waste of time. They get into it, they realize how cool it is, and they want to grow with it. So,
Sure.
worthwhile.
All right, so this is the end of our live stream. We're not going to be doing this next Friday because
Yes.
this man is going to be driving across country to bring another refugee from Colorado to Virginia. So we won't be doing a live next Friday. But other than that, every Friday, 7:30, we go for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour.
It seems like an hour, I don't
Ish.
know. I don't
It goes pretty
feel-
quickly.
Yeah, for